have some questions. First of all, start off with an easy one. Can you describe a typical work day for yourself?
I get up about 4:30 in the morning and get a newspaper and read the paper, and I'll answer mail. We get some fan mail, maybe customer complaint, a problem, packaging problem, whatever. I'll answer some of those. By 6 o'clock, I go up and I make sure our plant in Pottsville is running right. We're doing what we need to do, getting equipment in to get loaded. That's basically what I do. I watch the production of the Mill Creek plant. I'm back and forth all the time. Somebody in the plant, brewmaster, the plant manager always has a question about something because we're constantly building to increase our capacity, increase our efficiencies. So we're doing a lot of construction on site, and he might have questions. So I'm in meetings, and that's my day. I'm there till probably 1:30 in the afternoon, 2 o'clock. I go home, take a nap. Very important, very important. I'll eat around 4:30, and I go back to work. I might be back there for 2 or 3 hours, maybe an hour. Depends on what has to be done. That's the way I operate, hands-on. I grew up doing that, and as much as everybody tries to change me, I'm not going to change.
This questioner says, I have a friend who complains about the difficulty getting Yuengling out of state. How many states do you do business in, and why? You said 14. Why not expand nationwide, and in particular New England?
Well, we've had a very methodical expansion program. We drew our reins in from the New England states years ago in the early 90s when we started to grow. Consumers were picking our beer up more and more, and we were basically out of beer, and this is when we decided to build another plant. That was a 3-year ordeal. We don't do enough advertising to go out and just throw our beer out there into Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, Illinois, Chicago, wherever. We don't do that kind. We know our brand will grow into a certain point in a market. Pennsylvania, Delaware, now Ohio, now Indiana is looking for our beer. There's wholesalers in Indiana that want our beer in the worst way. Michigan wants our beer because of the success that we've attained in the state of Ohio. The wholesalers there have done a great job. It's only there 3 years, I think. And that's kind of, you keep it short supply and they want what they can't get. You shouldn't say that on television. Really when we play it. Because we don't do a lot. We can't play with Budweiser sponsored and how many ads on the Super Bowl. We can't do that. We don't have the money to do it. So we created demand for it. We're happy with our market share. If we can get anywhere from a 3 to 5 share, that's a lot of beer in the market. And if we can get up to a 5 share, we're doing well. We're good for the wholesaler in that particular market. They make money. We're happy. We sell a lot of beer. So that's why we're not all over the country. If we jump to Colorado, I had a guy that wanted to, he manages a sports bar in Colorado, and he wanted to buy 10,000 cases of beer. Well, he heard of our brand because he's from Pottsville. But how many people in that sports bar in Colorado have heard of our product? So we don't do stuff like that, but we're growing,
Recently, there was a headline calling you the billionaire brewer. It's safe to say that that's well above the average income of Pottsville. So have locals been treating you differently after that?
Yes. I didn't like that article. You know what? I'm not worth $1 billion. Our company's grown so much that if we were to sell it, some fool may come along and offer me that kind of money. But it's not what we're there about. It's not what we're all about. We're there for growth, we're there for the community, we're there for the people, because if we sold it, they closed the breweries down. They're not big enough for them. Our biggest brewery is probably 1.8 million barrels, which is now Pottsville, and I think Tampa's about the same amount of barrelage. And Budweiser brewery in St. Louis is 16 million barrels, so they don't want these little plants. they're not efficient to them. They are to me, but they are to them. So anybody that would buy our company would close all the breweries down and just make those 2.5 to 3 million barrels, 2.8 million barrels in their own plant. And maybe they'd try to grow the brand, and maybe they'd just try to get rid of it and make it sell their own beer. You don't know. But anyway, we're not for sale. Nobody's going to offer me $1 billion for it, and if they did, I wouldn't take it. So I'm not worth $1 billion.
What do you think of Pennsylvania's alcohol sales laws? Do you support privatization?
Well, I don't support the government being in business. I think that it should be private enterprise, and I don't really have a lot to say about the privatization. Everybody has their thumb in the pie and trying to for their own good, and you know what, us included, because we're trying to protect the beer distributors and make sure they aren't harmed by this thing. I want to see the grocery stores sell beer along the lines of the wall. I want to see the C-stores sell beer along the lines of the wall. I don't want them to change the rules to suit themselves. That's all. I mean, I just don't believe. I think mom and pop stores should be selling wine and liquor. What they do other than that, if they give wine to beer distributors, that's fine with me. But I want to protect them, because they're the guys that stepped forward and sold the beer in the state of Pennsylvania for our company. Because no big brewer can control 1,200 independent business people, and the small beer distributors are basically independent business people. Some of them are larger than others, but they're all mom and pop, basically, operations. And they made our company in the state of Pennsylvania, and I don't want to see them get hurt.
You mentioned how your grandfather started a dairy during Prohibition out of sense of care and obligation to the employees and their families. Do you think the same sense of obligation exists in American business today? If not, can it be reclaimed?
Well, you know, this family business is falling fast. There's not a lot of them anymore. It's a shame. We're probably one of the largest family-owned businesses in the United States. Martin Guitar in Nazareth, Pennsylvania. Chris Martin, we've done a cooperative promotion with he and his company. They were established, I think, in 1831, but we're probably one of the largest American businesses. It isn't a farm up in Massachusetts that has one part-time employee. There was a lot of them, and we're committed. We're committed to our people. We're committed to the family, and to continue this thing, to keep it growing.
Have you ever been pressured by Ambev or anyone else to sell or form a strategic alliance or partnership?
No, they don't pressure you to sell. Actually, we wanted to establish some kind of a brewing relationship with one of the major companies, and they want ownership. They want to own you, and you know, we walked away from the conversations, and they were, especially the Miller Company. They were very amicable. They understand. They were nice people. This was a past president that I spoke to. It went on for quite a few years. We just needed capacity, and it's very expensive to not only build a brewery, but it's also very difficult to find people with the brewing experience of a 1 million or 2 million barrel brewery. Who are you going to get to run it? And with my style, it's pretty hard to do. I can't be in Topeka, Kansas with a brewery out there and keep my eye on it. So I guess that's the answer to that one.
As the leader of a multi-state business, how does Pennsylvania compare to our competitors, and in particular Florida, where you have another brewery?
I'd like to see Pennsylvania as a right-to-work state. I think that would be a good thing for business, and I think that's one of the biggest problems in the state of Pennsylvania. We're the keystone state for a reason. We're right in the middle of the heaviest populated area in the country, and the state seems to be floundering. And I just think if they had a right-to-work law passed in the state, you'd invite an awful lot of business in here and put people to work. This is our home state. The more people that are working in the state of Pennsylvania, the more beer we're going to sell. And so that's a selfish rule, but they're a selfish idea. But I honestly believe that. You get businesses in here, and I think a lot of them shy away because of, you know, what you run into when you come into this state and you have to join a union. Nothing wrong with some of the unions. Some of them will work with you. I was union as long as I was at the brewery. I think after Prohibition we were in the union. But when certain people get involved in it, they're not local people in the leadership end of the union, they don't work with you anymore, they just work against you. And I saw it firsthand. When I had a local business agent, we never had an issue. As soon as they came out of Philadelphia, I had an issue. It's too bad. I mean, I had no problem with them until that happened. I finally had it up to here because I worked too close with the employees and I saw too many things that I didn't like they were trying to initiate. So that would be a main thing. If they did that in this state, you get the economy going in Pennsylvania again, I think.
What was the reaction when you said you might build your next brewery out of state? Is the state trying to get you to change your mind?
Well, I shouldn't have said that personally. I think Tom Corbett is really trying to bring business back into the state. And that comment kind of got away on me, but when you talk, what goes into your head comes out of your mouth sometimes. So I got a call from Corbett's office right away, and I was wrong in that. Pennsylvania is a good state, but what I just explained a minute ago about the right to work thing, I think that that's a big thing that they can do. And it's not up to one man. The legislation has to pass this. So that's what I was talking about. The lack of jobs. And I mean, I see it in my own community. I see people standing around in corners all day long, big, strong guys that never once came into my office and asked for a job. They're living off the government. I think it's wrong.
How much is the current Pennsylvania tax environment a hindrance to expanding to other states?
Well, it doesn't hinder us from expanding into other states. The capital stock tax, they've been talking about eliminating that. I mean, that's just another tax that in-state manufacturers are paying. And, you know, how many times do you have to be taxed on the same dollar? So it's just another thing. We pay it and live with it.
How has the growth of craft beers affected you?
Well, it's affected us in a good way and a bad way. It's introduced people, it's introduced the consumer to different tasting beers. Beer has gotten very bland after the Second World War. During the Second World War, you couldn't get grain, and people made beer with less materials, and the consumers got used to it, and certain brewers never brought it back to the way it used to be. We did. And I think that's why we've been successful. Our brewmaster, when I was a kid there, a fellow by the name of Ray Norbert from Shenandoah, Pennsylvania, whose father was a brewmaster in the Columbia Brewery. Ray always made a tasteful beer with good character to it. You can taste the difference between our beer and a national brand, let's say. And we've never gotten away from that. So he set the standards by which we still operate today. Craft brewers are doing the same things, sometimes to a little greater extent, or a much greater extent, but people like them, and they're trying different things, and that's fine with us. Remember, we're only like 1/2 of 1% of the whole beer business in the United States. That's the Yuengling funding, and it's not much, so they're not going to have a lot of effect on us. I think they actually help us because people are drinking better beers. They'll land on ours because of the price.
This is more of a comment. Thank you for moving distribution into Ohio. I now have room in my vehicle for my wife and myself. Prior to you selling in Ohio, I had to carry a carload of cases to my nephews.
Well, moved to Indiana. But I saw that firsthand I was at our wholesalership out in Pittsburgh, and I was calling on a beer distributor there, and there was a guy wheeling 10 cases of Yuengling cans out to his car, and I saw an Ohio license plate on it, so I went over to him with my card. Well, he thought I was a policeman. The poor guy turned pure white. The color just drained out. And I said, no, I'm Dick Yuengling from Yuenglings. I said, here's my card. I said, I want to thank you for buying it. I started laughing because he's hauling out of state. He said, oh, about once every 6 weeks I make a beer run. And that's... So thank you, Ohio, or whoever you are, for the support you've given us. It was a fantastic opening. It was one of the greatest things the beer business has seen as far as opening a new state, at least in my time.
Are you planning to launch any new products? And do your daughters have ideas for marketing flavored Yuengling to women?
Well, the younger generations has a sweet tooth. They grew up on soda. I mean, you know, when they started putting soda in schools, now they're taking it back out again, so that's going to be a whole generation till they get back to regular beer again. But they all want sweet beers, they want apple-flavored beers. And we don't do a lot of that, raspberry beers. We make an Oktoberfest, we make a Bock beer, our 2 seasonals. We also make ale, porter, black and tan, so we do make some kind of craft things, but we have them all year round. But we're dabbling in the seasonal end of the thing, and we've been very successful, especially with the Oktoberfest. But flavored or sweet beers, we probably won't get into them. Maybe my kids will, who knows? It's something that I hope is at least 15 years down the road.
How would you assess Governor Corbett's first 2.5 years, especially with regard to job creation and economic development?
Well, he's trying. You know, I don't know the particulars of politics, and I don't really want to get into that, but I know the governor, and I think he's a great man. He and his wife, Susan, are nice people. I've been in his company, and he does the right thing. You're faced with the legislator who he's got to face every day and convince them to do the right thing. It's trying to satisfy their own home jurisdiction, and you know, it's almost a can't-win situation. But he's a good man, an honest man, and that to me is paramount when you're elected an official.
Not sure if this question is related to anything. Mr. Yuengling, do you like chocolate?
Oh yeah, sure. Hershey's. Bob Asher's chocolate's very good too. He's a good ally and a good friend of ours. But yeah, I don't eat a lot of it, but I do eat chocolate.
Mr. Yuengling, may I have permission to come up and visit you for a moment?
Yeah, sure.
Chocolate for your family is very good. So here's a little chocolate.
Oh my gosh, you ran back to Hershey. He gave me a 400-pound chocolate bar. The Hershey Company is a good friend of ours. We've had meetings over at the Lodge and Convention Center, and we've just been treated royally over there. So thank you people.
Do you ever drink Budweiser?
You know what? No, not now that August is out. I don't know.
Could you talk about Yuengling's relationship with Richard Childress racing for the 2014 NASCAR series?
I can talk a little bit about it. I don't know a whole lot about NASCAR, but I have a marketing genius that loves NASCAR, and he wanted to do this. I said, okay, we're going to do it. It's not cheap, it's very expensive, and the talk about it has been phenomenal. I've been to races up at the Pocono Raceway. They're so well attended. The support that the NASCAR fans give their sponsors is apparently phenomenal. So we're going to see whether this is a good thing or not. I think it's going to be. I'm getting excited about it. This was just released last week. I don't even know the fella's car. All I know is it's the 3 car that was supposedly Dale Earnhardt's car, and nobody's used the number 3 car since he passed away in an accident. So we're sponsoring that car. It's his grandson, I think, that's driving it, or I don't know. I have trucks to load, and I have my own problems. So. I don't know about the NASCAR, but it's, I think it's going to be a neat sponsorship. I think we're going to be very happy we did it. I hope it gets supported because it's very expensive.
You had to buy the brewery from your father. Will your daughters have to buy the brewery from you?
Well, you have to. The government puts a value on it, and then in the inheritance tax, and I'm sure it'll be something that they'll gut it out. They'll figure out a way to pay it, but it's, yeah, they'll buy it. I'm not going to walk away without my 401k.
And finally, why didn't Mr. Yuengling bring samples?
Well, there should be a 12-pack under everybody's seat. The hell with people. If it was at Hershey, they would have taken care of it.